Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com. I want to apologize for my long absence. It's nothing bad, it's all good. My husband and I decided to take a spontaneous trip to California for the weekend. So we were gone for 4 days, 1 day going, 2 days there, 1 day coming back, and then I spent a few days in preparation for the trip. And because it was spontaneous, I didn't create videos in advance to release while I was gone. So that's why there's been a bit of a lull. So I am sorry about that. But while I was gone, one of my clients wrote me an email and asked me about the Celtic Cross spread. And I answered her in depth, but I thought if one client is asking a question, maybe other people would like to know. Now, the Celtic Cross is a spread that I took for granted that everybody knew because it's been around for so long. But then it occurred to me that for old timers like myself and people who were even older than I, when we came out and we were reading the cards, there really wasn't a whole lot of spread or literature out there. So the Celtic Cross, the ancient Celtic Cross, was kind of like the gold standard for reading the cards. Now, if you're from Europe, you probably knew about the Tirage and Croix, but that wasn't really, it wasn't known by myself. Maybe other people didn't, but we all knew the Celtic Cross. But then with the new age, literature coming out in the 90s and then finally the internet, there are so many readers out there who I'm sure share their signature spreads. I mean, I share my signature spread on this channel all the time. So, the younger readers now have a variety of information from veteran readers who've shared their spreads, right? That maybe the Celtic Cross has just become a spread that's kind of fallen by the wayside a bit. And as popular as it once was back in the day, maybe it's become that unpopular at this stage. Now, why did it become unpopular? Well, I know for myself, I stopped using it so much because I kind of felt like it wasn't fluid enough, I like, as I became a proficient reader, I like to just lay the cards and let them tell me what's going on, right? Rather than saying, this position means this and this card and that position, it was just, I couldn't, I didn't enjoy doing that. So I just, became good and, I felt like I was able to just understand the cards wherever they lay and they spoke to me and I just didn't need to go looking at positional meanings or spreads that had positional meanings. But I don't mean to poo-poo the Celtic spread because it served its purpose, and and it's not a bad spread. It can give some insight. Now, the interesting thing about the ancient Celtic spread is that it's neither ancient nor is it Celtic. It was created in 1909-1910 by Arthur Edward Waite when he created his deck in collaboration with Pamela Coleman Smith, because he created a fortune-telling deck. And when he created this fortune-telling deck, he had to give customers a roadmap for what the heck to do with them, So he created a promotional insert and said, here's the fortune cards and here's how you read them. So he provided everybody with a spread and what each position meant, and you had to reconcile the meaning of the card and the position that it fell in. So it served its purpose for a long time. And it's not a bad card to have in your repertoire. I mean, I have it on my website, and I probably only do maybe 2 or 3 of these a year. So I have noticed that its popularity has dwindled with customers because they usually just trust me to do my own signature spread. I think it's the same price as my signature spread, $60, So it's not, it's not that it's overpriced or expensive, right? It's just the same price as my regular spread. So, but people aren't picking it that much. But at any rate, I thought it would be fun to just do a video on the Celtic Cross the way I do it. Now, I tried to remain as true to the way I learned it from the book when I whatever the book was that I got with my deck, my first deck. It was, I believe it came with the first book I ever had, which was for the 1JJ Swiss, but I think it came with that book. And if it didn't come with that book, I got it in a book that was, came out around the same period of time. And so I try to stay true, right, to the way it was. But I did tweak some of the positions a little bit, or I have my own slant on it. So if I read, if I show you the positional meanings of these cards and I read it a little bit differently than what you've seen it done, I haven't changed it so much that it's a total bastardization. I mean, I really tried to remain true to the intent of Arthur Edward Waite, but I did tweak them, I think, to just improve the quality of the spread. I'm going to flip the camera. I'll lay the cards face down first, just to show the positional meanings, and then I'll flip them over and we'll do an interpretation of the cards. I'll come up with a question. And this would be as good a time as any to ask you for your support. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my videos. If you've been watching my videos but you haven't yet subscribed, please do me the courtesy of subscribing to my channel. I would appreciate your support, especially if you feel that my channel has value to you. I am currently at around 2,800 subscribers, and I'd really love to get to 3,000 by the end of the year. So if you could do that for me, it would be greatly appreciated. Now, while I was off camera, I went into my meditative place and I asked the universe, I said, hey, universe, I don't have a particular question in mind at the moment. However, I'm going to lay the cards face down to show my audience, and please have it be that whatever cards fall into whatever categories, please allow me to interpret and understand the cards to the best possible clarity for whatever question I pick. I hope that made sense. Okay. Now, if we were to be true to Arthur Edward Waite, his first card was intended to be a card that represented what he would call the querent, or the client. So, for example, a gentleman wanted to be identified as the king of coins. You would lay the king of coins here. Or a woman, you would lay the queen of swords, or whatever cards they felt significated them. However, I never enjoyed doing it that way because I never liked taking any card out of play. So I never took those cards and put them on the table because I didn't want them to be removed from the deck. However, there's an easy solution for that. Just pick a queen of clubs or whatever from another deck, lay it on the table, and that could be the querent's card, the significator, as he called it. Okay, card number 1, position number 1. What energies surround the client at the here and now? And my tweak is that I read this card with attention to cards in position 7 and 9 and the cards in position of 4 and 6. The second card, it crosses the first. This card represents either the positive or negative forces at work. It could be assets or blockages, the pros and cons. If it's a positive card, it represents the assets or the pros. If it's a negative card, it would be understood to be a thorn in the side. Sometimes cards, cards are never inherently good or bad, so you would just, know by, virtue of some of the other cards around it. Position 3 is the root of the issue the client has in mind, or the history behind the question or the situation. Card number 4 is the sphere of influence or trend on its way out or about to begin. So if it hasn't yet phased out, it's about to begin. I read this card in close association with 1 and 2 and 6, because as we get to 6, you'll see that 6 is the immediate future. So as these two cards are what's happening now, this card is fading out, and this card will be what's coming in. But before that, we have card number 5. And card number 5, I interpret as the focus card, what to focus on for best possible outcome. The 6th position, as I mentioned, is what is a trend or influence that's about to enter either the querent's life or the situation. Okay, and the last 4 cards, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, the general attitude of the client, and sometimes it represents his or her hopes or fears. 8, how the client's current situation is affecting those closest to him or her. 9 may show an ulterior motive or agenda at play here, a secret agenda. And that was, I think, that was a meaning that I definitely played with there. And 10 conclusion to this situation, always to be read with the most positive terms. And I think that was a stipulation of Arthur Edward Waite himself, is that always read this card, always end the spread on the best possible terms. Okay, doke. Okay, so I came up with a question. While I was on the plane, it was 6 hours to California, 6 hours back, and I watched a lot of videos on the monarchy, just catching up with the gossip and just catching up with the lives of the players, the key characters of the British monarchy. I don't intend to read any of their personal business, just superficial stuff that anyone can see from reading the papers or YouTube channels. I certainly don't have the inside track. I don't know any of them personally. I'm just a woman from New Jersey who has a general interest in other countries of the world and the interesting people in it. I grew up, of course, with Queen Elizabeth. I grew up, of course, with Queen Elizabeth as the queen, and Charles as Prince Charles, and I lived long enough to see Charles become king. But I also, enjoyed tuning into when Charles and Diana got married, and all the boys got married, and then when Charles and Diana had children, and then when all of them had children, and then when William and, well, of course, when Princess Diana passed away, I was glued to the set on that. And when the boys themselves got married, I watched their weddings, and with the birth of all their children, I was tuned in to see as much as was being shared about their children and all that. So I have, a bystander's interest in them, and I wish them well, and I'm not trying to pry into any gossipy stuff. I'm just using their arena for the purpose of interpretation. Just see what comes up. Okay, I could do it one of two ways. We can flip the cards individually and just look at them, or I could flip all the cards at once. Well, I'll comment as I see something, okay? So the energy surrounding the client here and now. All right, so if we're looking at the monarchy, the first card as a whole, not like one specific person, but the first card that pops up and the energies that's surrounding that, right, is mystery. And there's a lot of mystery, and there really is a lot of mystery going on right now, because King Charles has an illness, Princess Catherine has an illness. They're keeping that information close, right? They're not sharing a lot. They've shared what they have to share, to explain their absences, that kind of thing. But at the moment, there's a lot of stuff that we're not privileged to, which is very interesting. There could be some sadness, melancholy. Sometimes the moon card could represent that, and certainly if people aren't feeling well, there could definitely be a sense of concern and a little bit of depression overall, and not just for the characters, but the country as a whole, because the sovereign is in tune with its people, or that's the goal, right? Is to be in tune with its people, and so the people themselves must have some concern, or maybe some sadness in general. Okay, now the second card that crosses it would be positive and negative forces at work here, assets or blockages. All right, so we have a 3 of batons. 3 is an unstable number. I interpret the batons as a social suit, so there could be, instability socially, right? So the structure of the structure of, the royal family is maybe a little bit unstable, not because of personalities or anything like that, but just because they've been thrown a few wrenches, a few things that are unforeseeable. What are the odds of a serious illness happening to 2 key players, right? The odds are not great. And so there's just a certain amount of instability, I think. The root of the issue, the history behind it. Well, the history behind it has always been strength, right? Opportunity. The suit of coins, represents domestic life, unity, right? Keeping the country together. Certainly, the goal of the monarchy is to keep the monarchy going and to keep it relevant and to keep your family in the game, right? Certainly you want to have, a few children so that you have the ability to pass the torch and to keep it in your family. If like Queen Elizabeth I, she had no children, right? So when she died, it just became a scramble, and sometimes, illegitimate people who don't really have a right to the throne get in. And so I think, the monarchy is, the sovereignty is always concerned, no matter who it is always concerned with passing the torch and making sure you have children. And so the history then is keeping it alive, right? Keeping it alive. Okay, number 4. The sphere of influence or trend that's on its way out or is about to begin. And I read this in close collaboration with 1 and 2 and 6. Okay, here we have justice. Okay, so justice is a card of order. It's not chaotic, there's no, it's keeping things in order. So on its way out, sphere of influence or trend that's on its way out could be about to begin. Well, it might mean that it's about to get crazy. Something, we'll see what some of the other cards are, There may be a legal, there may be a legal consideration. There may be something that we don't know about, but there might be a legal issue, right? That's been played out. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be privileged to know that, but maybe there's some kind of legal issue that's going on behind the scenes. We'll see what some of the other cards are to see if that might be clandestine, but I wonder. Okay, focus on for best possible outcome. The 7 of batons. Well, 7 is the number of transition, of moving forward. The batons, again, as I mentioned, is a social suit. So passing on the baton to the next generation, right? So the focus would be on keeping it healthy, keeping the family healthy, keeping, the line of succession going. I mean, Charles, God willing, has, 10 or 15 more years, maybe more. But, he's got to have an eye on the future. And his son, William, is the future. And William's got 3 children of his own, so they are the future, but making sure that they have a succession. So keeping the eyes on the future. And it's not just Charles now who's got to pass the baton, but William will have to pass the baton, and then King, George, when he becomes king, will have to pass the baton, and so on and so forth, keeping the eye on that. Okay, the trend that's about to enter the realm. Now, this one we said could be a legal issue, and I read it in combination with this card because this might be something that's coming in. It could be a legal issue regarding a woman, a fiery natured woman, someone who's maybe a little bit on the unpredictable side. So there could be some type of lawsuit or some kind of legal thing regarding one of the cast of characters. Okay, number 7, general attitude of the client, sometimes hopes or fears. Okay, let's see. So temperance, well, okay, keeping it keeping on an even keel, right? The disadvantage of having a lot of individuals in a family, you certainly want to have children so that you can keep the lineage going. But then when you have a lot of children, you have a lot of, there's a lot of opportunity for screw ups and, making mistakes and then keeping their mistakes under wraps. So the fear, I think, if this could be seen as a fear or a hope, is just the struggle of keeping things in a good balance. The Queen herself, who you couldn't get more dignified than Queen Elizabeth, but she had her hands full. I mean, she herself called her year the horrible year, right? I think it was 1992, maybe. I'm not sure what year it was, but a year when everything went wrong, where all her kids were doing all kinds of screwy stuff that she couldn't keep under wraps, right? So I think the focus of any sovereign is to keep things balanced, for sure. Position 8. How the client's current situation is affecting those closest to him or her. Well, I guess, if we're looking at this as the sovereign and or the people closest to the sovereign, the key players, this is a very hopeful card. It's the Sun. So I think it suggests that he's being honest with the key players, the people in his immediate circle. He's being honest with them. And the key players, the ones that are in the know, I think they highly regard him and respect him. I really do. That's what this card suggests. Number 9, okay, may show an ulterior motive or agenda at play here, a secret agenda. Now, I mentioned with number 1 that I also read it in combination with 7 and 9. We already read 4 and 6, right? We already read, a lawsuit coming or going involving a woman, but keeping things even, keeping things at an even keel kind of is the same as justice, because justice is the opposite of chaos. So we would read this card in union with this card. So we definitely want to keep things out of chaos, not in a chaotic state. So let's see what this other card says. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. A nine of coins. Well, this could represent an ulterior motive or a secret agenda. But I don't know what could possibly be wrong with 9 of coins. It just, represents seeing something to fruition, keeping it in the family, being strong, right? You have 9 coins, you're solid. You're more solid than somebody who's only got 3 coins or 2 coins. So maybe reorganization, making sure that this, I guess, the secret agenda or the ulterior motive, if we read it in combination there, is to secure the lineage. Interesting. And the 10th card. Oh, my goodness. Let me reach. I'm sorry for the grunts. The final outcome card is the Lover card. So there's a lot of power couples, right? There's a lot of power couples in this family. We have the king and his queen consort. We have William and his future queen, Princess Catherine. We have Harry and Meghan Markle over here, who are, insinuating themselves, trying to remain relevant to themselves and to the royal family. So there's a lot of power. There's even Fergie and Andrew, who, although they're not a married couple, they're still, I think, very close to one another. And so they're a power couple too, So there's a lot of power couples in this family and in this institution. So I think we need to keep our eye, if this is an outcome card, is to keep our eye on all the power couples, right? All the power couples and their agendas, which is for power, is for all the coins. So I think the read here is that the power couples are all struggling for the prize. Now, clearly, William and his wife, and then George, I believe that's a secure thing. But everybody within the family, I guess, is struggling too to remain relevant, and they have their own agendas. And sometimes there can be competition. If you have too many kids, I imagine there's, just like any other family, there's competition and competition for power. Power couples. There's a lot of power couples involved who are in competition. And so it'd be interesting to see if any lawsuits may be brewing regarding a fiery female. It's very interesting. So what do I know? I'm just a woman from New Jersey. I just have, I don't have any insights that a citizen of the UK would have. I'm just interpreting the cards to give you an example of how to interpret the cards in the Celtic Cross. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.